Alright, Shalom. I'd like to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Wahara Kodash, double honors to the apostles, and others of great milestone of well. Peace and blessing to the Akimoni will push us through to the four corners of the earth, right? I want to entitle this, the image of the Lord is not important, question mark, right? Because I think it was about 3 weeks ago, somewhere about 3 weeks to a month ago, a guy came up on the streets, and we were talking about like how the Lord look in terms of the description that the scriptures gave, and he was like, it's not important, right? And we know where he got that concept from, which is the so-called Christianity, which is really which are really anti-Christians, right? Because they don't focus on the things that the scriptures say, right? They have their own thing that they believe and go along with, right? I have a precept before I read the information. It say Romans 15 verse 4. It say, for whatsoever thing were written aforetime were written for our learning. So, as we told the individual, there's no useless information in the scriptures. Everything in the scriptures was written for a reason, for a testimony. You know, as scriptures say, what for reproof, for doctrine, so forth and so forth. Just paraphrasing. These things are written down for a reason, right? The Lord wouldn't give a description of himself and then it wasn't important. Same way like all the other information in the scriptures, it have a reason for being there. It's to be able to edify those that came after about what is the actual truth. Because when it don't have a record for something, that is when you could bend the truth, right? If it is that it didn't have a depiction that was given in the scriptures, then somebody could have just give any image. There's a reason why he explained and described what it is he saw, right? It also have it in Daniel, but I'll bring out the one in Revelation quickly, right? For edification's sake. Right, Revelations 1 verse 13, it say, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, it say, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and gird about the paps with a golden girdle, which a girdle is like a belt, right? So he had a golden belt. It say, his head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as the flame of fire. Now, when you look at, his hair was white as wool, his hair was like fire, like was red, right? When you look at the modern day depiction, you know, the image of what they just show, you know, Caesar Borgia, aka Serapis Christus. When you look at that image, it's be a guy with long hair, blue eyes, not eyes red like fire, really flame of fire, blue eyes, you know, and his feet like unto fine brass, as they burnt in a furnace, and his voice had the sound of many waters. So when you look at the color of his skin, it doesn't be like fine brass as it burns in a furnace, and he's not portrayed to be a loud spoken man, right? It says his voice was like what the sound of many waters. That is how he was able to speak to these multitudes, because he was a loud individual. The scriptures refer to him as austere, which is not like Sophie, right? But when it is, like I say, when you look at how they make him look in movies and so forth, and how they teach it, they teach him in the exact opposite, more or less. And that is to show, as the scriptures say, what is this same revelation. What does it say in verse 3? It say, blessed is he that read it, right? Because the words of the book is the one that is what has all this information, right? Have all this information about these things. So when you watch like those biblical stories that there is remake and so forth, and you're seeing this happen and that happen, if you actually know the story through the scriptures, right? Then you would know if what it is they put in the movies is accurate or if it is inaccurate. But most people don't do that because they don't care. They have a zeal towards the Lord, but not according to knowledge. They don't take the time to try to find out if what they are being taught about the scripture is the correct thing or not. As long as it is appeasing to their desires and to their feelings and so forth, that's all they really care about. You understand? The deeper need to know what is true or not is not within them, right? It's the iconoclasm, right? Iconoclasm. I think icon is the is Greek, right? It's a figure, icon, and to break, right? To break icons, more or less, right? Is the social belief in the importance of the destruction of icons and other images or monuments. It's most frequently for religious or political reasons, and that is what they did around the time of the Renaissance, right? They painted over the images and they destroyed certain monuments that made certain statues look like they resemble jakes, right? Which is what you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? And also those that are scattered among the nations, right? Who are the Israelites? But the ones that used to look like jakes, that used to look like what they call so-called black people, they interfered with those paintings. Now, you see an example here of holy people here looking dark skin. Now, if it is that the image wasn't important, why did they take so much energy and effort into painting over these images? Why did they take so much effort into hiding the images? When it is they bring out these biblical movies, why do they always portray them in one way? And then when you question why they always portray them in one way, they tell you it doesn't matter. But yet you could clearly see it matters to them because they constantly push one narrative. If something really doesn't matter, you wouldn't show it all the way one way all the time. You might put him like a Chinese one day. Next day you'll put him like Elam. It wouldn't, because it doesn't matter, right? But you don't see them doing that. They always try to portray him in one particular way. And strangely, the one particular, because we know who is in power, right? People like a dance around the fact of the matter. But we know who is in power. When you look at the banking families, it's not people who look like jakes. They're not dark skin, right? They have blonde hair. They have blue eyes. Sometimes green, right? They have pale skin. And strangely, this is how they always portray the Lord to be. But then when you question that image, in contrary to what the scriptures say, they tell you it don't matter. You see, people who simple-minded, they wouldn't really pay attention to that narrative being pushed. Because they say it don't matter, but clearly it matters to them. Because they change the paintings, they withhold the information, but yet they try to push the narrative that the Lord looks like them. Something isn't adding up there. Right, but the scriptures say what the simple believe it every word. If these things did not matter, these people would not put so much effort and energy into covering it up, so to speak. Right? It's people who engage in or support iconoclasm are called iconoclasts, right? It's a term that has come to be figuratively applied to any individual who challenges cherished beliefs or venerated institutions on the grounds that they are erroneous or pernicious, right? It say conversely, it say one who reveres or venerates religious images is called by iconoclasts. Oh gosh, this assign this information. It says such a person is called. It says does not generally encompass the destruction of the image or a specific ruler after their death or overthrow. It's a practice better known as damnatio memoriae. All right. Right. So let's try to change your perception of what actually took place. Again, when you look at a lot of these historical figures, they try to make them look like particular people, which they were not those particular people, right? Trying to take themselves and put them in those people's places. I'm gonna pull up something else, right? So again, you get some examples. The one on the right, the top right, is the most popular, one of the most popular pictures that you'll see. People will usually have this hung up on their walls, right? Especially the older people, right? This is usually, the most common picture that you'll see of him, right? Other popular ones. This one, not so much. This one, not that popular. See, same narrative. You don't see anybody talking about, oh, look at his eyes, look at his eyes, look at his eyes. Is his eyes red like the flame of fire? Leprosy in the scalp. If you go to Leviticus, I think it's Leviticus 11. Is it 11? I think 11 is the Eaton law. I think it's Leviticus 13. We talk about if you have a thin yellow hair, is the plague of leprosy. Right? Because leprosy in the scalp is actually what is known today as blonde hair, and people are not even aware that that is an actual illness according to the scriptures. Your hair is not supposed to be yellow. Healthy hair is black, but in this society, because the rulers and the powers that be have these characteristics, people look to that as beauty, right? That is just all people envying their oppressors. Blue eyes, yeah, some people might find it appealing to look at, but it's actual deformity. All these different examples of what we see in here, whether it be the eyes, whether it be the hair, that's actually abnormalities. That is not a healthy thing, right? Healthy people have either like a kind of brownish to dark eyes, and they have black hair. That is actually healthy. People who have gray eyes, people who have blue eyes, those are abnormality. And they even say people who have eyes like that do not have proper sight as the people who have like the darker colored eyes, right? They don't. But again, these are the images that are often pushed, and it is for a reason. It is by design. It is not a coincidence, right? And it does have a meaning to it, right? Lord didn't look like that. His mother didn't look like that. But these things are by design. But then they will say that it's not important, right? So all scriptures were written aforetime, was written for our learning, right? But the scriptures also say what the simple believe with every word. So there are people that would hear that and say it doesn't matter. So how the Lord looked doesn't matter, right? So it was written. It gave you a testimony of what he saw, but the testimony of what he saw doesn't matter. So that means the golden candlesticks didn't matter, because he saw that too, right? And all the other things he saw in the Revelation book that he wrote down. He said, what thou seest, right, is in a book. None of those things mattered either, because, and that's where the mental gymnastics is coming. They like to pick and choose what matters and doesn't matter. Why? Because they don't want you to understand the importance of it. Right? The people that are the problem primarily look like this. You know what I was saying? The devil's greatest trick is convincing people that he didn't exist. Right? Or the original biggest problem to our people originally looked like this. Edomites. So they turn their image into beauty and then want to tell you that this, that, and the other does not matter. Anyway, I hope it was edifying. With that, I say shalom.